iPhone 13 Pro Max review, a buttery smooth refresh rate, multi-day battery life and great camera performance. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is the culmination of Apple's work over the past few years, offering the biggest, fastest display and best battery life of any iPhone to date. However, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is also the most expensive iPhone currently available, and unlike last year, there aren't upgrades unique to this year's Pro Max variant. With that in mind, is it worth paying the extra for the bigger display and longer battery life, or should you save yourself a bit of money and go for the equally capable iPhone 13 Pro? Keep reading to find out. That's not to say it's not a stunning piece of kit though. If you like the industrial look first introduced on the iPhone 12 range, you'll love the iPhone 13 Pro Max because it's essentially the same. The iPhone 13 Pro Max sports the same stainless steel bezels, frosted glass rear and edge-to-edge display as its predecessor. It's also protected by the same IP68 dust and water resistance and ceramic shield tech on the front too. It is slightly thicker and heavier at 7.7 mm and 240 grams respectively, likely down to the increase in battery power. More on that later, and the camera bump protrudes further than ever too, but given most people will immediately put a case on the smartphone, it's likely not something you'll notice. It's just a shame that Apple hasn't done anything with the extra screen space on either side of the notch, with the same time, signal and notification icons as previous smartphones, just centralized. And before you ask, no, Apple didn't reintroduce Touch ID alongside Face ID as rumored. That's a bit of a shame given the tech has been built into the power button of the iPad Air and iPad mini, especially considering our reliance on face masks and Face ID's struggle to recognize faces, and the fact that it's a feature of most of the Android competition too. Come on Apple, let us have the choice. There are also new color options available with the iPhone 13 Pro Max that help separate it from its predecessor, available in the usual silver and graphite along with a refreshed gold finish in the new Sierra Blue, which was supplied for review. A further addition came in March 2022 with the release of the Alpine Green color finish. For most Apple fans, the display will be a core reason to upgrade to this year's iPhone. Why? Because it finally introduces one of the most heavily requested features, a high refresh rate. While the entire iPhone 13 range sports Apple's top-of-the-line Super Retina XDR OLED displays with phenomenal color and detail, support for HDR and True Tone and more, the 6.7 inches iPhone 13 Pro Max, and the smaller 6.1 inches Pro, introduce Apple's 120Hz promotion tech. Of course, a higher refresh rate means more battery drain, which is why Apple opted for an LTPO display capable of dynamically adjusting between 10 and 120 Hz when required. It'll switch to lower refresh rates when the display is static, like when reading a text, and it'll speed up when it detects you scrolling, and it's likely a factor in the stellar battery life available on this year's model, but more on that later. It's not quite as capable as some Androids, with the likes of the premium Oppo Find X3 Pro able to drop an impressive 1 Hz for even better battery efficiency, and you can't lock the display to a specific refresh rate either, but it's still a welcome change that vastly improves the iPhone display experience. Promotion aside, the iPhone 13 Pro Max has a brighter display than before, boasting an impressive peak brightness of 1600 nits when viewing HDR content, though that drops down to a respectable 830 nits during everyday use, as I found in testing. Another iPhone means another Apple-designed chipset, and this year's 5nm A15 Bionic at the heart of the iPhone 13 Pro Max certainly doesn't disappoint. In terms of pure power, the iPhone 13 Pro Max's A15 Bionic is simply unbeaten, even compared to the top-end Android smartphones, and some of our benchmark results are much further ahead than most of the competition, especially in the CPU department as our Geekbench 5 tests show. There is a caveat though. As you can see from the GFX bench results, iOS apps need to be manually updated to support the faster 120Hz refresh rate, meaning our benchmark results are currently limited to 60 FPS despite being capable of generating more frames. I'll keep an eye out for a 120Hz update and rerun the tests once it's available. Of course, benchmarks are just numbers, and that doesn't really tell you how a smartphone performs on a daily basis. Given Apple's control over both hardware and software, you should expect a lightning-fast experience no matter what you're doing. be it running Call of Duty Mobile at the highest graphical settings or exporting a video in iMovie. The iPhone 13 Pro Max hasn't stuttered once in general use, no matter what I threw at it. Simply put, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is rapid, with enough power under the hood to keep it chugging along for a few years yet, and it's yet to be beaten in benchmark tests. There's also a meaningful boost to internal storage, with a new 1TB storage option available alongside the 128GB, 256GB and 512GB variants. Though most iPhone users, especially those that take advantage of iCloud, will be happy with the 128GB model, the 1TB model will no doubt come in handy for those that want to use the phone's high-end cameras to record Apple ProRes video at 4K. In terms of connectivity, you'll find 5G, though with varying support depending on the market. The faster mmWave 5G tech, for example, is still a US exclusive. That's flanked by NFC for Apple Pay, ultra-wideband tech for the enhanced Find My tech, Bluetooth 5.0 and Wi-Fi 6. While the entire iPhone 13 range benefits from the sensor shift OIS introduced on the iPhone 12 Pro Max last year, there are other benefits that make the iPhone 13 Pro Max's rear-facing tri-camera setup among the best in the market right now.